All right, let's see if that did it. Pull up the chat. Anybody see or hear me right now? Let me know. Anything? Let me know if you can see or hear me. And excellent. All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Paleontologizing. Welcome to the San Diego Natural History Museum. I'm excited to be here. It's my first time ever visiting. I'm excited to kind of explore this alongside you as we see everything for the first time. Yeah, excellent. Hopefully the audio is okay. I took the microphone off because it can be a little, I don't know, obtrusive. So I figured without having the big fuzzy mic on there, it'll be a little bit lower profile here and less obnoxious. So yeah, anywho, welcome. If it's anybody's very first time here on this channel, allow me to introduce myself real quick. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I'm here on Twitch trying to do some good old-fashioned science outreach. So normally that means streaming from my office back home in the San Francisco Bay Area, talking about new fossil discoveries, new publications, advancements in the study of natural history. And then during the summers, I'm out streaming from the field, digging up dinosaurs in Utah and Wyoming, and maybe a few other states coming up too. So, anywho, I'm on my way to TwitchCon. Starts tomorrow. Actually, the partner party is tonight. Got to pick up my badge after this stream, but I'm down in San Diego for that. And I figured, why not visit the San Diego Natural History Museum along our way? So I'm really glad you're here. We're going to have a good stream. This is going to be awesome. Yeah. And hello, everybody. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad the audio is good, too. Excellent. So yeah, we're here in the, not sure what this wing is called, but having just gotten here, first visit, I'm impressed with this museum so far. There's one of the challenges that a lot of natural history museums face is trying to communicate the idea that what you're seeing here in the displays is just the tip of the iceberg. Most visitors don't really realize that when you go to a museum, you're only seeing a tiny percentage of what's actually there at the museum. You're only seeing, the few displays that they have when they might have millions of specimens back in the collections. And this exhibit right here, this whole room is kind of emphasizing that idea. So I love that they've got this huge blown up photo of part of the ornithology collection here with all of these specimens. Natural history museums like this play a really, really important role in society, and that, I forget who it is who said this originally, but museums like this are essentially like the memory of a civilization, They allow us to look at specimens that were collected a long time ago, and they've been held here safely in the museum, so we can do things like understand the changes that our ecosystems have undergone. The abundance of different creatures, their morphology changing as all these organisms are evolving, all of that stuff. We wouldn't be able to do that if we didn't have big museum collections like this. And so keep that in mind as we're going through the displays here, that what you're seeing is just the very tip of the iceberg. The vast majority of everything here at the museum is behind the scenes in the collections. Drawers upon drawers of specimens like this that researchers are working on, helping to better understand the natural world and our place in it. Is that what it is right there? Is that a whale baculum? Are you serious? I didn't think whales had bacula. That's not right, Neverwinter. I don't think whales have baculae, but there's a narwhal tusk over here. Very, very cool. So this is one of the... I can never remember if the tusk of a narwhal is an incisor or a canine. But that tusked whale, that is the tusk right there. Again, I love the genus and species name for the narwhal. Monodon monoceros. One tooth, one horn. Says it all. But pretty awesome. Just the coiliness to it is impressive to see up close. Pretty neat. And I like this very simple signage here, but it gets its message across. Nature's weirdness. Nature takes on some strange forms. Insects that look like walking plants, intimidating spikes on a cactus, a shell, a sea urchin, animal, vegetable, mineral. It can all be hard to tell which is which. There's a reason for all of it. Protection, camouflage, attracting a mate. What's the strangest thing you've seen in nature? I like that. This is quality, this placard writing here. Engaging an audience, getting them to think about what they're saying. And this is just a, tiny, tiny, tiny sample of what abounds in the collections downstairs. Pretty cool. Anyway, yeah. But very cool. Got all these lovely taxidermied specimens over here. And these Sandhill Cranes? Looks like it. Yeah, I think so. The tags are flipped around so you can't really see. But pretty sure that's what those are. These are really, really cool animals. Sandhill Cranes make these kind of otherworldly noises. It's a lot like what you would imagine a non-avian dinosaur sounding like. Yeah. Yeah. And like we saw yesterday at the Alf Museum, a Brontotherium skull. But you're looking at it from, this is a ventral view of the skull. Look at those teeth. They kind of remind me of mastodon teeth a little bit, but they're distinctly different. The cusps, you can see how they're worn down like that. Evidence of the animal using these in life. Because unlike dinosaurs, mammals like this do not replace their teeth throughout their lifetime. They just kind of get worn down and then it's game over. Yeah. Got a mastodon tusk down here. Very nice. And more Sandhill Cranes. Wow, wow, wow. Lovely. I presume that these were probably in older displays here at the museum, and they've kind of moved them behind the scenes over the years, and now they're back. As part of this eclectic mishmash of different specimens. These are probably some favorites from visitors' favorites from years past. And check out that ammonite right there. Very, very cool. This is probably Cretaceous in age. I wish they had genus and species and formation and everything, but you can see the suture pattern on the ammonite there. That is super, super cool. Yeah. So each of the different segments that make up an ammonite shell, they're sometimes visible on the surface of the fossil, but sometimes certain parts of it wear away. They get eroded. Maybe it's fossilized in kind of a, weird, scrungy kind of fashion. And here you can see that. You can see that beautiful suture pattern. Especially in the late Cretaceous, suture patterns on ammonites get really, really complex. It's beautiful interlocking fingers there. Really, really neat pattern. Just extraordinary. Yeah. Yeah. And, first anomaly. That's wonderful. First anomaly says, hey, Paleontologizing. Somebody on Twitter asked if humans were evolved apes. Well, apes are evolved apes, too. Everything evolves. But yeah, actually slam the tetrapod argument that I learned in your stream, that we are limbed fish. It's true. Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool that you remembered something that you saw on stream and you were able to communicate that to somebody else online. That warms my heart. Wonderful. Wonderful. Anyway, I'm glad you're here. Welcome back. Anyhow, and check out these bovids and cervids here. That looks like a Cape buffalo. We've got a reindeer. We've got various species of antelope. That looks like it might be a bison up there. Pretty neat. I've always had a special place in my heart for museum exhibits like this, where it's just kind of a mishmash of cool, weird things from the collections. It's neat. It might be kind of low budget, but, museums often don't have a lot of money to work with. And so this is a way to kind of communicate that idea of biodiversity, to get people interested in, weird, eclectic stuff. just putting all kinds of stuff like this on display. Just letting people kind of peruse it at their leisure. Got a pronghorn right here, still in the plastic. America's last, or the world's last surviving antilocaprid. Pronghorn like this are one of my favorite North American mammals. They are super, super cool. I see them a lot in the field, especially in Wyoming and Utah. Fastest animal in North America. Not this one in particular, obviously. But when they're alive and running, oh man, super cool. Anywho, there's bird eggs and nests. Pretty cool. You can see the tiny little holes drilled in them in order to remove the contents.
Hands off the glass, buddy. Hands off the glass. Hands off the glass.
Yeah, pretty neat. Just kind of that delicate approach that must have been needed in order to take the contents out of those eggs just to preserve the shells. Pretty cool. An American philatelist, thank you for the support. I really appreciate that. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Yeah.
It's a whale. Those are all his teeth.
Red-tailed hawks right here.
He's so big.
Lovely display. Pretty cool. Some species of oak here too. I don't know the species, but it's genus Quercus, if that's a west coast oak. Probably coast live oak, I would guess. But yeah, the attention to detail in these displays is always impressive. We will go see some of the fossils and the extinct organisms in a few minutes, but I wanted to kind of start off over here, nice and quiet. Golden eagle, right here. Check out those claws too on that rabbit. Oh man. Some kingfishers, and is that who's the heron with the green legs? That's interesting. Very cool. Yeah, and that is like raptor prey restraint, Claire. Yeah, it's really neat. This is I don't know. Talked about this many, many times on the channel before, but let me just go through it really quickly again. The behavior of modern birds like this golden eagle can offer insight into what, their dinosaurian cousins were doing during the Mesozoic. Think about a dinosaur like Velociraptor or Deinonychus. If you've seen any of the Jurassic Park or Jurassic World films, and you've seen Velociraptor, that animal is actually Deinonychus. It's a long story. But anyway, they had these big sickle-like claws on their hind feet. Their second toe, it's got this huge curved claw. And for a long time it had been kind of a mystery what exactly that was used for. Some people thought for slashing or for climbing their prey. But that's not really something that modern animals with big claws like that use their claws for. Claws are generally not for slashing or for climbing up prey. When we look at animals today that have claws like that, like our golden eagle, who's got a hypertrophied digit 2 claw, in much the same way that Velociraptor does, we can maybe gain insight into what that evolved for. These guys use that as basically a hook to hold on to their prey. And what's interesting is that when a golden eagle like this will capture a large prey item, say like a big jackrabbit, way, way bigger than this little bunny, big jackrabbit, and it's too heavy to fly away with, what they'll do is they'll sink their claws into it as it's struggling and trying to buck them off. The eagle will sink its claws into it and then flap in order to maintain a little bit of lift, stay upright, stay on top of that prey until it stays still enough, long enough for it to eat some chunks out of it. This is a behavior that we can observe today. It's sometimes called stability flapping. And we think that dinosaurs like Velociraptor or Deinonychus very well may have done the same thing, given they've got those same claws. And we now know they had wings, too. We've got evidence of, full-on pennaceous feathers on the arms of dinosaurs like Velociraptor and Deinonychus. So they were very likely doing the same thing, flapping to stay upright on their prey as they're standing on top of it and sinking those claws in. Yeah. But yeah. And, interesting, Claire. Okay. That's cool. But the legs of herons? So that looks like a black-crowned night heron, but I've never seen one with legs that green before. I wonder if that's like an artifact of taxidermy or what's going on there, because those legs are so green. Maybe there's regional variation, maybe it's a seasonal thing, maybe it's a breeding season thing. I don't know. Yeah. This is very cool. All these little wetland birds in here. Kingfishers, I think a bittern, black-crowned night heron, at least that's what it looks like, and a great blue heron, and an American coot, and whatever this little guy is. Not sure who that is. Some kind of little rail or something? Very cool. Yeah. Pretty neat. Oh, and that's a green heron down there, is it? Is that right, Neverwinter? Interesting. Okay. Cool. Well, herons are really interesting birds as well. And pretty soon I'll be publishing a paper that talks about herons a little bit as an analog for dinosaur behavior. But yeah, interesting stuff. And I know who these guys are. These are little terns. Is this a least tern right here? They're so small. Look how small this tern is compared to my hand. Holy cow. Look how tiny the little babies are. Very cool. Tern survival because they're not doing so hot, population-wise. Yeah. Anyhow, back over here. Let's see if the signal comes back. We're back? All right, nice. And check this out. Common dolphin. I love this. These kinds of displays where you've got the fleshed out animal on one side, just like you would imagine it in life, just like you'd see it in life. Yes. And then on the other side, skeletonized. And these look like the original bones. These do not look like casts at all. That's got to be the originals right there. Super cool. Yeah. Pretty darn neat. We as paleontologists are always thinking about this kind of thing. You know, how an animal's skeleton doesn't necessarily reflect the silhouette of the animal, its external appearance. Very cool. And I am pretty sure that is a remnant of the pelvis in there. It's like, what is that one loose little bone just kind of floating there in this animal skeleton? That's kind of a hand-me-down from when these guys were terrestrial. Obviously, cetaceans, whales, and dolphins, they evolved from a land-living ancestor, a kind of hoofed mammal, what we call an artiodactyl. Artiodactyls are the even-toed ungulates. That's pigs and deer and goats and giraffes and cows and camels and hippos. Hippos are actually the closest to whales. But anyway, once upon a time, whales had hind limbs. We might even see some of that later on as we move through some of the other displays here. Very, very cool. And the first anomaly says, might I ask how much DNA does a skeleton reflect? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Can you rephrase that question? Because I don't think I understand what you're asking. Yeah. Can you find a different way to ask it? Because I'm not sure I understand. Yeah. Tommy Ploticus, how are you doing? Hello. All right. Now let's turn around and take a look at this. Can anybody tell me what this is right here? It is pretty impressive. Yes, you are correct, Alexander Morrison. Ding, ding, ding. This is the mandibles of a sperm whale right here. They've got these teeth. They don't really use their teeth that much while they're feeding, and so they actually get really worn down as the animal, ages. And yeah, it seems like they've kind of de-emphasized their teeth. They also only have teeth on the lower jaw. So the upper jaw of the sperm whale just has these slots for the teeth to fit into. But that is pretty impressive, I think. I'm sure whoever manages the collections was pretty happy to have this thing outside, like, have it out of the oversized part of the collection, too. And up here probably afforded them a lot of space downstairs. Actually, with something this big, if they've got a lot of whale specimens here at the Nat, which I think they do, I wouldn't be surprised if many of them are off-site at, like, a warehouse facility. Because, you know, collection space is usually pretty limited. So I would not be surprised if most of the really, really big whale elements are somewhere else, not here on site. Yeah. And hey, Rhacodactylus, how are you doing? Hello, hello. Yeah. Anyway, pretty cool. So sperm whales are part of a group that we call odontocetes, as opposed to mysticetes. There's two major groups of whales. There's the mysticetes, baleen whales, the ones that don't have teeth, and the odontocetes. Odonto, like dental, means teeth. These guys have teeth. So the odontocetes are sperm whales, orcas, other dolphins like this are odontocetes. They've got lots and lots of teeth. Dolphins have teeth in their upper and lower jaws. Sperm whales only have them in their lower jaws. But, yeah. So there's a split between these groups of whales, I don't know, sometime in the Paleogene period. Probably like 40 million years ago, something like that. I don't know. I don't work on whales. But suffice it to say that it was tens of millions of years ago that these two groups split. And the odontocetes kept their teeth, and they evolved echolocation. They're the only echolocating whales, you know, where they can emit sound and basically like see in darkness because of that. Baleen whales don't do that, but they evolved this, you know, filtering mechanism in their mouth in order to be able to sieve prey out of the water. Yeah, and since they are eating such, you know, tiny organisms like that, they're not really like active pursuit predators. They don't really need echolocation like that. So it's just interesting, the different strategies that different lineages take after they split. What are they focused on? What's best for their particular lifestyle? That kind of thing, you know? Yeah. Anyway. And, Fluff, thank you for the Prime there. I appreciate it. I'm glad you're enjoying the museum streams. Yeah. Yeah. And that's not a sunfish back there, RDA, but thanks for calling attention to it. This is... So sunfish have really even weirder skeletons than this. This is an opa, I guess. Yeah, and that is the real skeleton inside. Go around so you can see the painted model part of that. There we go. Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Pretty neat. And this actually illustrates something really well. I was talking about this summer when we were in the field at Turtle Hill, finding all those fish bones. And I was talking about how fish bones just look fishy. They have a certain texture to them that you don't really have in, like in tetrapods. So with our ray fin fish like this, the bones have like a wispy kind of texture to them. It's pretty distinctive, and this shows up in their fossils as well. But this lovely display, you see that kind of, it's almost like a flaky, biscuity kind of texture. Yeah. It's interesting stuff. Yeah. Now, Opa is a moonfish. Thank you, Diagonal. Okay, nice. Anyway, pretty cool. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? Go past our sperm whale jaw. I just want to give you a sense for how big this is, too. So let's walk past it here. It just keeps going. Pretty cool. Well, since these guys are eating squid, they don't really need particularly sharp teeth. their ancestors did, and you've got these raptors really aren't as important. Many of these teeth might just wear down entirely over the course of the animal's life. They're mostly suction feeders, so they're opening up their mouths and then just kind of sucking in that soft-bodied prey like squid. Yeah, it's interesting to think about. We've got some lovely pelicans here too. One thing that anytime I get to see a pelican up close, what I like to point out is that hooked end to the beak. It almost reminds me of like a spinosaur. And to a certain extent, cormorants have it too. A kind of hooked beak like that. Lovely for holding on to slippery prey. Yeah. On shoebills, who have a very similar kind of notch and then, a sharp part, that's called a nail on a shoebill jaw. I don't know if we use the same terminology on pelicans, but it's the same kind of idea. Both fish-eating birds, and they've both got that same kind of morphology. Anyway, very cool. And did that one have ears? Those are tufts of feathers on the cormorant. Right there. So all birds have ears, but they don't have like an external pinna, like a fleshy ear part like mammals do. The ear holes are under the feathers. So back, kind of behind the eye there. So those are just kind of a feathery hairdo, Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Pretty cool, right? When you see stuff like that, it makes you wonder what kinds of different soft tissue displays would have existed in extinct animals. Like non-avian dinosaurs, for instance. Anyway, this is a really cool design for this museum. Again, my first time here. And why don't we kind of take things in reverse order here and we'll work up to seeing the dinosaurs, shall we? I think that would be cool. Yeah, and hang on, did our signal drop off? Oh, we're back. Okay, good. Not sure what's up with these modems, but they seem to be working as well as they used to. Oh, look at this lovely display here. So much going on here. Holy cow. It's like a Checkawawa lizard, California quail. That's our state bird here in California. So, we got some paleo salutes in the chat going for our state bird, the California quail. And that looks like what kind of deserty fox is that? I'm not sure. Yeah. A nice wasp right here as well. Ichneummonid wasp, perhaps? Yeah. But what a cool display. Little box of life. There you go, Claire. Super busy. And then... Oh, so we're trying to figure out what kind of fox that is. And here we go. There's your answer. No, I'm just kidding. The oarfish is up there. Check that out. And oarfish are such cool animals. They really are. So it's another ray fin fish. One of those fun facts that you always hear is that, oarfish are probably responsible for lots of sightings of like sea serpents and stuff. I don't know how true that is, but it is a remarkable critter, and they can grow tremendously long. Oarfish can be like well over 20. Alright, should be back up. And we're back. Alright, excellent. Good, this is a good place to be back. To Fossil Mysteries. Pretty cool stuff. So we're going to kind of work backwards in time here from the Pleistocene, which is very, very recent, back to the Mesozoic, the age of the dinosaurs. So what's really cool about this is that there's a heavy focus on West Coast fossils, particularly California fossils. And we see a lot of cool ones here. We've got a baby mastodon here. Love that sign. All right, check this out. Super cute. Wonderful. Life-size baby mastodon here. Oh, look at those tiny little tusks just coming in. Very cool. Hey, Dyson Dinosaur, it's good to have you here. Welcome to the San Diego Natural History Museum. It's my first time here, too. And I am really excited to kind of show you around. Yeah, you never know what might be lurking just behind me. This is one of those museums where you never quite know what you're going to see. I'm excited about that, you know? Walk around corners and like, whoa, what is that? Right here, we've got, I think, an American lion? Yeah. And she is a big lady. Wow. The American lion could be significantly larger than the African lion today. And these guys lived here in North America until just a few thousand years ago. So there we go. Yep, there's Panthera atrox. Although here it says Panthera leo atrox. Interesting. The American lion skull. So this is a cast right here. This is bigger than any lion skull I've ever seen. Any African lion skull. Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah. I wish I could give you a better sense of the scale. It is impressive how big that cat is. Holy cow. I wonder if that's the biggest cat that's ever lived. I'm not sure. But they certainly got bigger than our state fossil, than Smilodon here. And this looks like an original work by William Stout. Shoot. We were talking all about William Stout when we were in Florida, streaming from Dino Land there. And here's a William Stout original. This is awesome. Sorry, there's a little bit of glare. I'll move back a little bit. Try and give you a better look. Really lovely. Yeah. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So our two critters right there, the dire wolf, previously Canis dirus. Now it's been reclassified as, I think, Anacyon dirus. Dire wolf, right here. Smilodon, right here. We've got a lovely side-by-side comparison of the two most famous big carnivores from La Brea. Yeah. Very cool. And I like this too. They're kind of pushing back against an idea, a misperception that a lot of folks might have, that like, oh, these big Pleistocene mammals, they were destined for extinction. They were just too big and too weird, and nature selected them for extinction. When that's not what happened. It's very likely that they died out because of human interference, humans arriving in North America, changing the landscape, and then suddenly these adaptations that they had for subduing their prey and getting a meal, suddenly those are no good anymore, Take a look at those canine teeth. And this is an original. That's not a cast. Those are the original fossils right there. And presumably these are from La Brea, from just north of here in Los Angeles. Tell it's got that kind of tar-stained appearance to it. Long arms that kind of make the hind limbs look wimpy by comparison. So why in the world did they have such robust arms like this? It very well might be that they use those for kind of wrestling their prey to the ground. Here's a Smilodon going after a camel. Probably camelops right there. And so you use those arms to just hold the critter onto the ground, and then you use those saber fangs for the coup de grace there. That killing blow. Interesting stuff. Very cool. And what a neat perspective on this critter. And Claire Burr, yes, indeed. No, we didn't we? The double canine thing. Jack Seng at Berkeley, colleague of mine. We've talked about this in person before it got published. So yeah, we were talking about that. I think soon after the paper was published. But cool stuff. So, we talk about ontogeny in dinosaurs all the time, but it's also important to understand for mammals. It seems like when young Smilodon are developing those big canine teeth, as they're coming out, they're kind of delicate. And so they would, rather than losing their baby teeth and then just being without teeth for a while.
Oh. This is the first city call for a 1 p.m. showing of T-Rex.
I wish I could see that. Anyway,
next to the museum stores.
I think I have some.
As a reminder, stores are not permitted.
I think I have some colleagues who actually appear in that film as talking heads. Anyway,
again, this is the first city call for the 1 p.m. show of the T-Rex.
Okay. So we were talking about Smilodon and those teeth. So pretty much all mammals, they've got 2 sets of teeth throughout their lives. You've got your baby teeth and your adult teeth. With Smilodon, it seems like they actually overlapped those. So as before the baby saber fangs drop out, the new ones start to grow in. And so it's like the baby ones are kind of along the sides to almost act like braces or training wheels or something like that, in order to help stabilize things as the teeth are developing and growing. So it makes it less likely that they would break. Because again, if your adult saber fangs, your adult canine teeth break, you're out of luck. You're never going to grow anymore. With dinosaurs, they would just grow new teeth. That's what they did all the time, but not so with mammals. So interesting stuff. Yeah. Kind of like a stake for a plant. Yeah, Rhacodactylus. Isn't that neat? Yeah. Yeah, and this is not like our false saber-toothed cat, that Nimravid that we saw yesterday, Dinectus. This is Smilodon fatalis, or Smilodon calcaniformis. At any rate, it's Smilodon, and this is our state fossil here in California. I suspect you'll be seeing a lot of this guy if and when we visit La Brea on our way back to the Bay Area next week. Yeah. Anywho. Another really cool critter here that I'm excited to show off. We've got what looks like Paramylodon. So a big old ground sloth. Paramylodon harlani, also known as Harlan's ground sloth. So today we've got 2 species of sloth. They both live in trees. And they are... Okay, let's see. Is it coming back? Should be back now, I hope. The signal's really bad in that corner. But I was hoping to show you some more of the murals and everything, but we just can't get signal over there, unfortunately. Yeah. But there's other cool stuff to see. Like this right here. Holy cow. Can anybody tell me in the chat whether this is a mammoth or a mastodon? Remember what I've taught you about this? Mammoth or mastodon? What do you think? Cue Jeopardy music here. Yeah, if you said mastodon, ding, 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 you're correct. Yeah. So mastodons have got these, really pronounced topography to their teeth. They've got really tall cusps. Mammoth teeth are kind of flat, with just little ridges on them. Mastodon teeth, they almost look like giant human molars, but, with taller cusps. I feel like I say this every time we talk about mammoths and mastodon, but I'll say it again. Those differences in their teeth reflect a different lifestyle and a different habitat for them. So mastodons are thought to be primarily forest dwellers. They're living in and around forests, eating leaves. So they've got those high-crowned, high-cusped teeth for processing leaves. Mammoths, we think, are mostly living in open areas. They're more like plains dwellers, eating grasses primarily. But check out this lovely illustration here, too. We've got tapir and mastodon, roadrunner and quail, rabbits and ducks, turtles and capybara? Or agouti? Or what are those guys? Super cool. So many of these critters are still around today. Your ducks, your rabbits, your mice, your turtles, your roadrunners, your quails, your scrub jays up there. All of these critters lived alongside these giant Pleistocene mammals. And by all rights, the giant Pleistocene mammals should be still here, but something happened a few thousand years ago. And it seems like maybe a changing climate stressed them a little bit, but the introduction of humans to the landscape really did them in. Anyway, and they look similar to Diprotodon teeth. Interesting, Dinosaur Dave. Huh. I wonder if Diprotodon was also a browser like that then, rather than a grazer. Eating leaves rather than eating grass, primarily. Pretty cool. But when you look at a skeleton like this of a mastodon or a mammoth, and to me it just looks a little bit goofy. Me as being so used to dinosaur skeletons. Like these huge, wide, flared hips like that. And then the femurs coming down just from the bottom of the hips, just, to me, looks funny. But it worked for them. These were remarkably successful animals. Pretty cool. Mammals are just strange, though, I could say that. I'm a mammal. Yeah. Anyway, bones bring a bay back to life. A rich fossil record lets us imagine abundant and diverse life in our region's Pliocene Bay. How did these animals interact? What roles did they play in this ecosystem? Oh, very cool. So we're going back in time from the Pleistocene, which is like, about 1 million to about, maybe it's 2 million, to about 10,000 years ago, something like that. Back to the Pliocene. So the span of time a little bit before it. So today, you've got the Pleistocene right before that, then you've got the Pliocene. So we're going back in time right now. And we're going to see some marine critters because much of California was underwater at the time. Let's take a look at some sea cows. Very cool. So while sea cows like this AB sea cow here, well, they might look vaguely like whales. These guys are not closely related to whales at all. They're aphrotheres, actually. So they're much more closely related to things like golden moles and aardvarks, sengies, aka elephant shrews, and elephants. Those are all aphrotheres. And these are a part of that group. Sirenians are the sea cows, manatees, dugongs, etc. And I think this is supposed to be a baby stellar sea cow here. Look at that tiny little eye. Look at that big old muzzle. Super cute. Just want to give it a hug. And there's Mom up there. So this is a giant sea cow, aka stellar sea cow. And these guys should still be around as well. That is actual size, by the way. They were that big. And they only went extinct just a few hundred years ago. They were actually hunted to extinction by, Russian sailors. But yeah, we have non-fossilized bones of these critters in a lot of collections and stuff like that throughout the world. But yeah, check it out. Take a look at that skeleton. Pretty darn cool. Apparently only took 27 years to make them extinct. Yeah, in between discovery by European explorers and extinction, it was less than 30 years. It's nuts. Yeah. That is so cool. And you can see the remnants of the hind limbs up there too. The pelvic girdle still there from when these guys had ancestors that lived on land. And it's interesting how small their forelimbs are, too. Unlike manatees or dugongs, which tend to have pretty big forelimbs, these guys, they're so small compared to the rest of the skeleton. Really interesting. Yeah. Yeah, pretty darn cool. So the genus name is Hydro something? Hydrodamilus questa, extinct giant sea cow, 3.5 million years old, from the Pliocene San Diego Formation, Chula Vista, San Diego County. So these guys were around for millions of years. And then human beings show up and then just, they're gone. Like that. Kind of a recurring theme, isn't it? Yeah. Anyway. And there you go, Alexander Morrison. Yeah. I think it's thought that sea cows like this were so buoyant that they could barely leave the water's surface. You see adaptations in the skeleton to try and weigh them down a little bit, keep them from floating as much as they otherwise would. Look at how thick those ribs are right there. Just look at how built up those ribs are. And presumably there's some pachystosis going on in there. There's some thickening of the ribs to make them heavier to help weigh the critter down, so it can at least dive a little bit. But from what I understand, it is thought that these critters were mostly kind of restricted to the surface. Couldn't really dive very deep at all. We will talk about that. We're at La Brea. Yeah. Maybe I can even show you when we go there. But yeah. Anywho. Yeah. Anyhow, let's take a look at some whales here. There are so many fossil whales from California because so much of our state was underwater until very recently, when sea levels fell. So there's just a wealth of cetacean fossils from this state. And we saw some odontocetes back there, some toothed whales. Now we're seeing some mysticetes. So this, according to the sign, is an extinct fin whale right here. And these guys have such ridiculous skulls. It's crazy. They are just bizarre animals. Yeah, just nuts. When you don't have to support your own body weight on land, you know, like mammoths do or like dinosaurs did, you can just develop these really weird, wispy skeletons that, like, they just don't make sense outside of the context of water like this. So there's a gray whale relative skeleton there, according to the sign. And you can see the orbit right there. That's where the eye would be. And then check out that enormous mouth. Super cool. I don't know how well you can see with the glare there, but really neat. Anywho. An extinct right whale right there, too. With whale fossils, it does present kind of a challenge, like how do you put a whale fossil on display, especially like a skeleton of a whale. They require even more armature than like dinosaur skeletons do, because you've got to suspend the whole thing in the air. And even just the skulls themselves like this require so much support, because they just All right, here we are. Signal should be coming back. Let's see. Give me a second here. Let me pull up my own stream on Twitch here. Let's see. Okay, good. I should be back. Excellent. And check this out. This is pretty cool. Really, really interesting metalworking going on here to show off these bones. This is, of course, a walrus. You could probably guess looking at the skull right there. And I love how the metal armature is not just supporting the bones, but also showing you the outline of the critter. We've seen some different approaches to this. You portray that idea of, like, this is what the giant sea cow. Alright. There we go. Okay, we're back. Anywho. Yeah, it seems like anytime I go kind of off in that direction, we lose signal. So I'm going to try and stay over here as much as I can. But pretty neat. If you're interested in fossils of the Pacific coast, there's a really lovely book that kind of provides a nice introduction to this. It's very accessible, very fun, kind of whimsical. Cruise on the Fossil Coastline is a book that I would highly recommend. Written by Kirk Johnson and illustrated by Ray Troll, and you'll see lots of walruses, whales, sea cows, desmostylians, sea lions, all kinds of cool critters in that book. It's pretty Cenozoic heavy, but it's got stuff like this. Is this a stellar sea lion up here? Who is this guy? This is pretty cool. These fossils can give you a new perspective when you live here on the West Coast, or anywhere really. But yeah, marine fossils on dry land show how plate tectonics shaped our region. 15 million years ago, plate movement created basins along the Miocene California coast, extending the ocean inland. Today, due to tectonic uplift and preserved in sedimentary rock layers from these basins, now high and dry in our region. Here, there's where I live up there in San Francisco Bay Area. But all of this used to be underwater, and now uplift that's made what was once ocean floor dry land allows us to be able to find these fossils here on dry land and study them and understand what was going on in Earth's past. It's pretty important, interesting stuff. So this is some kind of pinniped up here. Could be a California sea lion, or it might be somebody else. I'm not sure. I don't know my pinnipeds that well, but pretty cool. And then by now you've surely seen the giant shark over here. They're difficult to preserve. They're difficult to fossilize. The most resilient part are the jaws and obviously the teeth. And a shark like this can produce so many teeth during its lifetime. They could become really, really common. But, yeah. Anyway, check it out. MS Coggin says, does the shark have a sign saying not to put your head in its jaws? It does not, because I don't think anybody's neck is that long. There's a railing here. There's our shark. I like the way that this is oriented as well, where you've got to walk all the way over here in order to see its face, see into its mouth. So the way that it's oriented kind of draws you in. I think that's really neat. Yeah, pretty darn cool. So yeah, we can estimate how big these sharks were based on the size of the teeth, and then looking at the ratio of tooth size to overall body length that we see in like modern white sharks. But we don't know if these guys had a different ratio. Maybe they just have really, really big teeth compared to their overall body length. I don't think we have a great handle on that so far. But yeah, most of the estimates that you'll see will put Carcharodon, or put Megalodon, which is now, Otodus Megalodon? Carcarcles Megalodon? I'm not even sure what genus it's classified into nowadays. Megalodon is the species, at least. Most estimates that you'll see for Megalodon will put them at around 40 feet long, maybe 50. But there have been estimates as high as 100 feet long and estimates as low as 30 feet long. So, it's still something yet to be discovered. I did a YouTube video about this a long time ago, and yeah. Anywho, yeah, pretty cool. And let's see, Hibiscus and Alexander Morrison are saying Ototus megalodon, which I've heard other researchers say otherwise too, that they think it should be back in Carcharocles. I think I remember Bobby Bozenecker saying that. Yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting critter. It really is. The largest cartilaginous fish that's ever lived, as far as I know. Even bigger than a whale shark. And these guys ate whales. We think that's why they went extinct, is that the small whales that these guys were feeding on went extinct. And suddenly there's nothing left to eat. Well, there is another hypothesis that the evolution of the white shark actually led to their extinction, because they could be outcompeted at, like, you know, at a juvenile stage by full-grown white sharks. So if you can't get enough to eat as a juvenile megalodon, because white sharks are outcompeting you, I mean, you'll never get very big, and then you'll never reproduce, and then you're extinct. So yeah. Anyway, interesting stuff. Yeah. And there you go, gay hibiscus. Yeah. Anywho. But yeah. Oh, and Becky Saif IRL. Sam in San Diego, I need to get a photo with you, Twitch partner. Well, cool, Becky. Maybe I'll see you at TwitchCon later. Will I see you at the partner party? I think it starts at 6 p.m. tonight. But yeah, let's do that. Very cool. Yeah. Anywho, good stuff. Nice. Let's continue on. Oh. Well, we'll go backward in time, and we'll get back to the dinosaurs. Cross your fingers that the signal holds through here. And Becky, that sounds great. I will see you there then. Looking forward to meeting you. Yeah. And here's our pressed penny machine. Well. I was wondering where this was going to be. Let's go ahead and do this right now. Let me grab my quarters and pennies. There we go. So, those of you who are not familiar with this, let me explain. This is something that I collect, are these souvenir pressed pennies. I'll show you how it works. You take a penny and $2 quarter dollars, and you put them into this machine. You turn the crank, and it turns your penny into a souvenir. So, start right there with our mountain lion right here. Put that in. There we go. And check it out. Very nice. And looks like I did that correctly. Beautiful. It's good to have the date on the back if you're like a true collector. I have exclusively copper pennies to use in these. The U.S. Mint changed from copper to zinc back in 1982, and the zinc pennies don't press nearly as well. So you have to find a pre-1982 penny to use. So I've got a bunch of those that I've collected and rounded up. And here we go. Let's do our Allosaurus here. Lovely. Check that out. Beautiful. Nice. Now, we've got 2 of the 4. Let's do 2 more. to our whale skull here. There we go. Very nice. All right. One left. Got some manta ray right there. Let's see. Okay. Beautiful. All right, got all four. Let's continue on and hope that our signal holds through here. Oops. Yeah. And there you go, Alexander Morrison, yeah. Alright. So we've got some more lovely William Stout paintings here. So we're moving back further in time as we approach the Mesozoic, approach the age of the dinosaurs. This is a little bit earlier in the Cenozoic here. So I'm not as familiar with these critters. Those almost look like toxodonts to me. And those look like primitive camels. Yeah. Very cool. So where are these from? Are they from here in California? Let's take a look. Yep, San Diego County. Oh, so these are from the Oligocene. Very nice. Some of these are from John Day fossil beds, like this one, which may have actually been returned, or maybe it's currently under study. This is pretty cool. We've got a fossil gopher tortoise shell, the carapace and the plastron, and then we've got models of the limbs and the neck and the head. I'll show you what the animal would look like in life. I've never actually seen a fossil turtle displayed like this. That's really cool. I like that a lot. That's pretty neat. Very clever way to show visitors what they're looking at here. That's pretty neat. Yeah, during the Oligocene, Earth saw a period of like cooling and drying out. You've got the advent of these massive grasslands that covered North America and much of Asia and Europe as well. Before, there were like broadleaf trees, forests, almost like a subtropical kind of environment, but things dry out during the Oligocene. You get the rise of the grasslands, and that affects the animals that are evolving here too. Yeah, critters that are restricted to forests, they don't do so hot. Their ranges diminish, and creatures that do really well in open grassland environments are very successful at the time. Yeah. This has kind of continued into today. We've got these huge prairies, grasslands across the interior of North America. Pretty much started with the in the Oligocene, as I understand it. Pretty cool. Yeah. And then this is neat. Very, very cool. An interactive display here. So we've got a deer skull right there. It looks like a cast. I don't think that's the actual skull. But here, you can manipulate it and look at how the jaw articulates like that. Very nice. This is a white-tail deer skull. You can see that ascending process of the mandible there, how it articulates with the rest of the skull. And you've got these big jaw muscles that insert in that fenestra there, help pull the jaw up like that. Pretty cool. And then we've got a cat. So this is a mountain lion skull right here. There we go. Pretty cool. So you can see that fenestra right there, so much bigger than the deer to accommodate much larger jaw muscles, because this critter's got a much stronger bite force. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Neat stuff. Over here we've got some kind of a pinniped, probably a sea lion. Yeah, Xylophus californianus, our state marine mammal. California sea lion. And this is what we were talking about yesterday, this idea of homology. Lovely display here. Evolution transformed these arm bones. The form fits the function of swimming, climbing, or running. Yeah, you've got your scapula, shoulder blade in blue, humerus in orange, radius and ulna in green, and carpals, metacarpals, and phalanges, the wrist and hand bones in yellow. So each of these animals developed from a common ancestor, and that's reflected in their anatomy. We were just talking about this yesterday. This is great. But check it out. I love that it's color-coded like this. You can see a critter like a gibbon. You've got these super long finger bones there. You've got super, super long radius and ulna and super long humerus. These guys need really long arms for hooking into branches and swinging and climbing. Much more robust bones on your sea lion there. You know, this forms kind of a paddle for swimming around in the water, for steering, for propelling themselves by flapping with those forelimbs. And a running animal, a cursorial animal, we would say, like a deer. You've got long, straight, kind of thin but very strong bones like that for absorbing impact as they're running. Pretty cool. Yeah. So this is one of the fundamental principles that we have in paleontology. It's just like looking at these common elements that different critters have that they inherited from their common ancestors and how they've evolved to suit different purposes. Pretty neat. Yeah. And there you go, fall machine. Exactly. Yeah. Pretty cool. Let's hope our signal holds over here. And there we go. There's our gibbon again. The present provides a key to the past. Yes, indeed. I like that there's just really basic principles in paleontology that they're going out of their way to emphasize here. I appreciate it. Oh, and that is cool. So look, when you turn this, you can see how those bones interlock, how they can rotate like this. So having rotational joints like that is really important to critters like gibbons and other primates like us. Pretty neat. All right, excellent. And check this out. Holy cow. Is this a running mule deer? Oh, this is cool. So we're going to see how the limbs, basically how they work, how these different joints work, how everything articulates in this animal that evolved for running. So I'm turning this right here. And there we go. You can see forelimb makes impact on the ground like that. And then comes up. Very cool. Pretty neat. Those are the same bones that we have in our forelimbs, but these are just adapted for a very different purpose. And if you look at the embryology of these critters too, like a super, super small fetus of a deer is going to look very similar to a super, super small fetus of a human. It's during that development that those things kind of change. It's almost like replaying evolution embryologically. It's interesting stuff. Anyway.
We found that humans share a fairly recent common ancestor with chimpanzees. that mammals evolved from
And here,
reptile-like
this is
creatures.
talking about that too.
Those reptile-like creatures evolved from amphibian-like creatures. Those amphibian-like creatures evolved from fish-like creatures.
We were talking about this yesterday.
And fish.
Yeah.
If you go back far enough.
Pretty cool.
Share a common ancestor.
That's, John Perry, I think, makes those videos. We've seen some of those on stream before. All right, now we're going back further in time, I think into the Eocene. And this is cool. There's a display like this in Vernal, Utah. It's kind of similar. I love when you go back to the Eocene, there's just this desire to, like, oh, this is a jungle environment. Let's immerse the visitors in a jungle environment here. So we're going back further in time to the Eocene, 55 to 38 million years ago. Yeah. So during this time, this is before the grasslands took over, the climate was wetter and warmer. Earth was kind of warmer during this time than it has been for a long, long time. You get the Paleocene, Eocene thermal maximum. You had warm climates, palm trees and crocodiles as far north as northern Alaska. You had jungles in Wyoming. It was an interesting time. Is this a Brontothere kind of critter over here? Let's see. Yeah, we've got more Brontothere skulls, like we were talking about yesterday. Awesome. Yeah. So all Brontothere share a distinguishing trait, a W-shaped enamel ridge connecting the cusps of their molars. And you can see that right there. See the W shape on the tops of the molars there? Cool stuff. Yeah. Pretty neat. So, one beast or two? Are these different species? I think that's what they're asking. We conclude these skulls must be the same species, one adult and one baby. So, for mammals, it seems like everybody accepts this idea, but for a lot of dinosaurs, people are much more reluctant to accept that they can change so much during ontogeny. They often change more during ontogeny, but that's pretty cool. Yeah. Pretty neat. And these are the actual fossil bones right there, by the way. These are not casts. Those are originals. Pretty neat. And Brontotheres are such interesting critters. They really are. So they're kind of rhino-like, but like we learned yesterday, they're not particularly closely related to rhinos. I guess they're outside of Ceratotheria. So they diverged before the ancestor of the rhinos and the tapirs diverged. They've got a similar kind of body plan. Oh, we got a baby Brontothere right here too. Super cute. Very nice. Awesome. Let's see. How many people do we have watching right now? I wonder. It says 328. Not bad. And for anybody just joining us, welcome to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist. And we're traveling back in time through the San Diego Museum of Natural History, back to the age of the dinosaurs. We're not there yet, but we'll be there pretty soon. So I'm glad you're here. We're in the Eocene period at the moment. The Eocene epoch, I should say. During the Paleogene period. It's lovely Brontothere here, and I love the foliage. You've got these ferns and magnolia trees. Looks like a mangrove here almost. Very cool. And some sort of crocodiliform over here. Alexander Morrison, you were just talking about these guys. Yeah. Pretty cool. And Sazendra, thank you for the Prime sub. I appreciate that very much. Welcome to Paleontologizing. Let's see who this croc is. Do we have a sign somewhere? Welcome to Eocene San Diego. The rain passes and a new day dawns along the coast. As the sun rises over the mangroves, those are mangroves, very nice. Nocturnal mammals settle down as the day shift begins to stir. In the lagoon, fish find safe haven away from the pounding surf. Clams, oysters, and snails live among the mudflats, tidal channels, and mangrove roots. Boas lurk in the trees, waiting for unwary prey. Ooh, we'll probably see a boa around here somewhere if we look closely. Crocodiles prowl for breakfast. On higher ground, tortoises awake under domed shells. So these are all from San Diego County. This is what this area looked like about 50 million years ago. Pretty cool. And I love the cutaway view. We've got what looks almost like a horned shark or something down there. We've got those different mollusks and invertebrates. And then all of our land critters. Super cool. I love immersive displays like this. I really do. And any tree shrews yet? Asked the Trek nerd. I mean, I don't think tree shrews had evolved yet, actually. This might still be before their origin. But we've got these mammals here. These little guys. I'm not sure who these are. Could be pantodonts or something? What's really neat is we've got actual fossils here that correspond to the fleshed out models that you have up there. This is a lovely way to create a display. This is very cool. Here, let's see if we can spot that boa anywhere. Because they made a point of calling it out in the text. There we go. Right up there. Nice. Very nice. So, a boa, like our modern boa constrictor. Up there. I love that it's not in your face. You gotta look for it a little bit and make you work for it. That's nice. You've got these little guys, almost look like bush babies. I wonder if they're primitive primates up there. Look at them. Those big old eyes. They must be the nocturnal critters that were mentioned in the text there. Very cool. And this looks like a tapir. Yeah, Baird's tapir. Holy cow. So it's a modern tapir skull. And then we've got an extinct tapir right here. And I wonder... Oh, there he is. Proper Eocene livery there. Those stripes. Very nice. Yeah. Very cool. A special place in my heart for tapirs. They're such cool animals. And who is this guy? Some sort of early carnivoran? Sniffing up that tree? What's he looking at? Oh, and we've got a primate party up there. Trek Nerd says, what were our ancestors doing during this period? I don't know. Look like they're celebrating. Those hats, I think, are for the 150th anniversary of the NAT, San Diego Natural History Museum. Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. And this is something that's actually pretty cool to see. Got specimens missing here. Removed for study. Hyenodon right there. It's cool. So a museum like this, apart from just having the displays like we were talking about, there's a lot of actual research going on here too. And some of your most impressive specimens will go on display, but so many more are down in the collections. And these ones were brought down to the collections for study. I guess somebody's going to be publishing on them. Pretty cool. Very cool. Really nice. And gibbons had not evolved at this point. Those might be gibbon noises that you're hearing, but I think that's supposed to be coming from these guys. I also wanted to take a look over here. We've got, that might be some sort of early carnivoran, like Myiasis or something. And I'm not sure who these little guys are supposed to be. Are they creodonts or something? I'm not sure. But it's during the Eocene that you get a lot of these modern mammal groups start to emerge. You get your tapirs, you get your horses, you get your primates. They really start to do their thing. A lot of the carnivoran groups, cats and dog ancestors, they start to emerge too. Yeah. By this time, mammals are starting to get big as well, like those big brontotheres over there. They took a while to do that. You know, at the end of the Cretaceous, you've got this huge extinction event, and basically every creature on land weighed more than 10 pounds goes extinct. It takes mammals a while to get big, but by the Eocene, they start to do it. Like that brontothere back there. And then, of course, we get to our ancestors as well. Let's go back over here and look at this display with the little proto-primate guys. There we go. Taking hold in the trees. Early primates adapted to the high life. There we go. Lemur-like primates, such as Hesperolemur, that means western lemur, use long limbs for climbing. And look at those elongate fingers there on the skeletal mount. Lovely. Yeah. And tarsier-like primates, such as Omomais, I know that name, had big light-sensitive eyes for nighttime activity. He looks pretty surprised to be on stream. Yeah. Check him out. Really lovely. That's presumably life-size right there. Yeah. So you didn't really have mammals like this during the age of dinosaurs? It looks a bit more mousy than that. But it's during the Eocene that these critters really, really start to become more modern in their aspect. Anyway, some lovely plants over here too. If you want to understand what the climate was like at this time, the plants are the place to start. Plants can't really, get up and move around. They're generally fixed in place. And so if you find a particular plant fossil in a particular area, it gives you an idea of what the climate was like in that area. And plants tend to be pretty temperature sensitive too, latitudinally restricted. And we can compare them to modern plants. So you can look at the shapes of their leaves. You can look at the number of pores that they have in their leaves and their spacing. You can look at whether or not they have serrations on their leaf margins. All of these things are clues as to what the climate is. We can test these things today. You can look at plants today and figure out the patterns for which leaf morphologies occur in which temperatures and which environments. And that basically can tell you what the environment was like back then when you find similar plants.
This is the final seating call for a
pretty cool.
1:45 p.m. show of T-Rex. The film will be shown to the cafeteria on level 1 next to the museum store.
Soapberry, water lily family, horsetail back there, one of my favorite plants. Sycamore, sumac and mangrove fern, climbing fern, mountain ginseng, mangrove, banana family, Musaceae right there, and magnolia. You'll see, I think, all of those here on display, plus more. Like these palms. Very nice. Check this guy out. So who is this? Primitive mammalian carnivore. Oh, Taposcion. Taposcion robustus. So, kind of an early, almost feliform carnivore. I bet you they are feliforms. They're from, like, the cat side of the carnivoran family. Yeah. Nice. Very cool. Oh, I just love this room. This is so cool. And it's very San Diego as well. Like, all these fossils are from here in San Diego County. Here's a Protoriodon. With basic generalized features, Protoriodon made a living here during the Eocene. Relatively long body, stocky limbs, and distinct tail were primitive features inherited from its ancestors. Slightly up on their toes, Protoriodonts were more agile, scampering over uneven terrain. Teeth with sharp crests were a real advancement for slicing and shredding plants. Distinct canines are a puzzling feature in an herbivore, but probably functioned in social display. You see this in certain, like, antelopes today, where even though they're herbivorous, some of them still have pretty pronounced fangs. And a pronounced skull crest, must be the sagittal crest right there, and a robust jaw held powerful muscles, used for chewing tough plants. And here's the skeleton itself, with the actual fossil bones. You can even see some of the specimen numbers and locality numbers painted on some of those neural spines on the vertebrae. Really lovely. Such a cool display. This whole room is fantastic. I love this so much. So much thought went into this. It's really lovely. And they've even got a little guide over here. Can you find these Eocene animals? Shovel-nosed guitarfish, I didn't see that. A lepticid, like Leptictidium. Lepticid. And then you've got your plants. Very cool. Pretty neat. Again, this reminds me a lot of that one particular room at the museum in Vernal, Utah. Also set in the Eocene. Pretty cool. Awesome. Oh, I love this. Museum is top notch. I agree, Clever. Good stuff. But now, let's get to what everybody's been waiting for. The Mesozoic. The age of dinosaurs. Let's go back through the KPG extinction and into the Cretaceous. Now you see them, now you don't. Got the extinction of the dinosaurs here, and the survival of little mammals, at least some little mammals. Most mammals went extinct at the end of the Cretaceous, but some survived. Oh, and this is Troodon right here. My. What's the line? Troodon was suddenly cut down by extinction. Lovely paintings by, it's like Doug Henderson here. Yeah. Here we go, an end and a beginning. These rock layers preserve evidence of a catastrophic event. The layers in this rock are like chapters in a book. Each one tells a bit of Earth's history. And this is the Z-coal here, isn't it? Yeah. Here we go. I guess this one is from Wyoming, and here's an actual sample of the KPG boundary for that an exact moment in Earth's history when that asteroid hit in the Gulf of Mexico and caused the extinction of about between 50 and 80% of species on Earth died out at that time. This is a sample of that layer brought back from Wyoming, the KPG boundary. I don't know if it's actually the gray clay. Seems a little too obvious, but let's take a look in here. we go. The lower layer of dark gray mudstone forming on the mud banks of a lazy river. Lots of pollen from different plants in there. And then the thin gray claystone contains 1,000 times more iridium than the other layers. This element is rare on Earth but common in asteroids. That's right in there. I guess it is the gray layer, isn't it? Yeah. So right in here, that's the KPG boundary. It's funny, when I've seen it in Montana, it's not nearly as distinctive as this. I hope I'm sure they got the right layer. But yeah. We talk about this all the time. Of course, my necklace holds a sample from the KPG boundary 66 million years ago when that asteroid hit. And it was just this freak occurrence. It changed the world forever. We would not be here today if it weren't for that freak accident. So before, land ruled by dinosaurs, doing their thing, super healthy environment, and disaster. And after that, some lucky survivors, the meek inheriting the earth. Mammals and birds and rise to dominate the landscape. Yeah, interesting stuff. Alright, and now into the age of the dinosaurs. Oh, this is what I've been waiting for. I hope it's what you've been waiting for. Super cool. Let's start off with this mural over here. Gorgeous, gorgeous mural by William Stout. This is just incredible. I've seen pictures of this online. They don't do it justice. I wish you were here right now to be able to see in person just how lovely this is. It's truly impressive. And look, more troodontids right here. See that sickle toe claw? There's many teeth there in the jaw. Classic troodontid. And just a little mammal hiding in the underbrush, trying to stay out of the jaws of those troodontids. Little mammals right there too. But yeah, that Lambeosaurus, just gorgeous. So it's a nesting ground for these critters. Beautiful. Now we've got evidence of this in other duck-billed dinosaurs like Maiasaura and Hypacrosaurus from Montana. It allows us to easily imagine what nesting sites would have looked like for Lambeosaurus as well, another member of that group, Hadrosauridae. Yeah. Oh, and that is super cool, Dyson Dinosaur. Hey, William Stout is one of my favorite paleo artists as well. It's been a big influence on my art. It's super cool that you got to meet him. Yeah. Man, this is just... Oh, I'm blown away by this. Gorgeous mural. Just lovely. Some Neosuchians, yes indeed. William Stout is very fond of putting crocs in his art. That one looked like Brachychampsa back there. And then we've got what looks like Borealisuchus over here. Yeah. Just gorgeous. Of the inquisitive baby Lambeosaur checking out that turtle there too. And then we've got a mosasaur chomping down on an ammonite up there also. Really nice. Check out that mosasaur. Lovely. Pterosaurs flying overhead. Just... not just technically impressive, but... oh, it conjures up emotions too. It's a lovely piece of art. Can't get enough of that. Let's talk ankylosaurs. Let's look at an actual, genuine California dinosaur here, shall we? There's a specimen over there. We'll take a look at it in a minute. But first, I want to give you a sense for what you're looking at. This is an ankylosaur. So this is a reproduction of Aletopelta, which, by all rights, should be our state dinosaur here in California. It's kind of an odd story that it didn't become our state dinosaur. But yeah. And this is life-size. I love that they have this here, this fleshed-out model. And I love that they put a tail club on the end, too. So this critter is one of the best preserved dinosaurs from California. And we'll see it over there in a minute. But let's just admire this fleshed-out model first. These big osteoderms, these big armor plates. Bits of bone embedded in the skin. Like a flexible suit of armor. Big sacral shield back here to protect the hips. Yeah. And then big old shoulder spikes as well. It's lovely. And look at that head. So this is clearly based on Euoplocephalus. Just like the skull is just a solid box of fused bone. And I don't know if they really portrayed it here, but these guys presumably had armored eyelids as well. Solid bone eyelids to protect their eyes. Kind of crazy to think about, you know? I've said it many times, I'll say it again. What kind of a lifestyle are you leading where you need to have solid bone eyelids, you know? What kind of fights are you getting into in order for to evolve a structure like that? Just nuts. Super interesting. Anywho. And then that tail club. So this is kind of controversial right here. With Aletopelta, this particular ankylosaur, it's still kind of a mystery whether or not they had a tail club. Like, what group do they belong to? Are they ankylosaurids or nodosaurids? Did they have a tail club or not? Because we don't have that part of the animal preserved. But let's take a look at the actual fossil over here. So this is... this is the actual specimen on display. What's really interesting about this is that, well, at the time, California was largely underwater. This is a land-dwelling dinosaur, but its remains were found in ocean-bottom strata, marine sediments. So this critter somehow washed out to sea and was preserved like this, covered with oysters. Spondylus subnodosa, extinct thorny oyster. So these are fossil oysters. Again, this critter was found, I think, near San Diego. Where was it found originally? Yeah. Pretty cool. An osteoderm reef combo. There you go, Alexander Morrison, yeah. Dinosaur was found lying on its back, belly up, with many bones connected as they were in life. Shark teeth, oysters, clams, and snails are found with the dinosaur fossil. Scientists discovered the dinosaur preserved in a mudstone layer 3 miles inland and 200 feet above modern sea level at a roadway construction site. This evidence suggests what happened to the dinosaur. Cause of death is unknown, but because the skeleton is partly intact, the dinosaur carcass probably didn't travel very far before sinking into the seafloor. Pulled by the weight of bony armor on its back, the carcass sank with the belly up. You see right here. This is another example of bloat and float, like we talk about. The necklace is coming apart. Oh well. Sharks fed on the carcass. Dinosaur bones provided a surface for shells to attach. A reef community thrived. Mud and sand buried the dinosaur remains beneath sedimentary layers hundreds or thousands of feet deep. Much later, movement of the Earth's crust lifted the 75-million-year-old seafloor above sea level. Erosion followed, making the fossil discovery possible. Pretty cool. We do find this fairly often with this kind of dinosaur. There are a number of really famous examples of ankylosaurs being found in marine strata like this. Borealopelta from Alberta in Canada is probably the most well-known example to the public. We've got other ones from Kansas and Nebraska and from Wyoming. Yeah, it's definitely a thing. It could be that ankylosaurs just had a particularly tough skin, and so they could bloat and float much further out than other dinosaurs would before they eventually pop and sink down to the bottom. Or it could be like Vercingetorix says, maybe they just like playing in the water. Potentially. Maybe they were kind of rooting around in swampy environments and sometimes they'd get washed out to sea. We don't know. But it's interesting. Yeah. There's a shark tooth there, you see, circled in red. A snail shell down there too, from a vase snail. And then we've got some more of the scutes, the osteoderms right here. So yeah. And what you're looking at, of course, is the arms. So you've got the radius and ulna, that's the right arm right there. And the left arm over here. So you're looking at the animal's chest. There's a coracoid, and there's a coracoid. So these are bones right here from the chest. Pretty cool. And a potential shoulder spike right there, too. It's kind of eroded and broken, but you've got another spike right there. You see that keel shape to it? And then you've got some of those teeth. Just like the pachycephalosaur teeth that we were looking at yesterday. Almost leaf-shaped. Very nice. So anyway, since we don't have a tail of this critter, nor do we have the skull, it's difficult to tell whether it's a nodosaur or an ankylosaur. There's two major groups of ankylosaur dinosaur, the nodosaurids. These are lovely bronze models too. And ankylosaurids, like this guy. Ankylosaurids are characterized by that tail spike. They tend to have broader snouts. Nodosaurids tend to have narrower snouts and no tail club. It was Tracy Ford who published on this. And he and Jim Kirkland generally have the opinion that this critter is probably an ankylosaurid, probably had a tail club. But given that we only have the forelimbs of this critter and some of the osteoderms, it's difficult to say with any kind of certainty, you know? Yeah. And this is not Borealopelta, Charlie's Dragon. This is Aletopelta, which, yeah, there we go. Aletopelta Coombsii, named after Walter Coombs Jr., who's a really well-respected ankylosaur researcher. Yeah. So, pretty cool. This is one of the best dinosaurs we have from California. And it is from Carlsbad in San Diego County, right here in SoCal. Pretty cool. A lot of people don't think of California when they think of dinosaurs. Fair, but we do have some dinosaurs. Here's one of them. They tend to be from kind of weird marine occurrences, but there you go. Anyway, very cool. Speaking of weird marine stuff, let's look at these ammonites. We might think of these as being weird today, but they were very normal back then. Super common in these environments. These are related to today's octopus and squid and cuttlefish. Closer to them, at least, than to Nautilus, it seems. But yeah, would have looked something like this in life. And they were everywhere during the Cretaceous. Hundreds or thousands of different species. And they're so common in different environments that they're often used as like an index fossil. So you can date the rocks based on the ammonite species that you find in them. So if you find a particular ammonite, since we've got such a good understanding of where those, like when those ammonites lived, like we only find them in particular rock layers. If you find an ammonite in some rock layers, you don't know how old the rock layers are, you can generally correlate those with known ammonite finds and be able to determine, oh, this is how old those rocks were. It's really cool stuff. Ammonites are extremely important to our understanding of these ancient ecosystems. Super, super cool. Yeah. And then you also have cool interactions, stories that ammonites can tell as well about their individual lives, like this one here. Oh boy. Pachydiscus catarinae. How did this ammonite die? Well, look at those punctures there on the shell. Kind of a V shape almost. Those line up pretty much perfectly with the teeth of mosasaurs. So there's a mosasaur from Kansas. Although we've got a ton of them here in California too. I think most of those are up in Berkeley in the museum there. I'm not sure if they have any Cretaceous, if they have any mosasaurs here in at the Nat. This one's from Kansas, but we had very similar ones here in California as well. Some species of Tylosaurus seems to have kind of more rounded teeth, but a lot of these guys seem to have been ammonite specialists. So they fed primarily on ammonites. This is not a dinosaur, by the way. I want to make that very clear. It's kind of ancient lizard, a mosasaur. Kind of related to today's Komodo dragons and monitor lizards, or varanids. These guys are members of that same group. They are ocean-going lizards, and they fed on ammonites oftentimes. Pretty cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, Crimson Carnotaurus is talking about snake stones there. Yeah, that's funny. Before people really understood what fossils were, when they would find things like these in the rocks, they'd be really confused by them. They'd come up with all kinds of wild stories to help explain them. But yeah. Anyhow, ammonites are super, super interesting. We've got so many different species here. Some of them don't actually form like a full coil like that. Some of them are straight. And some of them are shaped like paper clips, or just like, I don't know, if you take like a phone charging cable and shove it into your pocket and you pull it out and it's all tangled up. Some ammonites almost look like that. Just this wild tangle of shell. But some of them are your classic kind of ram's horn curve like that. And again, take a look at that suture pattern there on this ammonite. We were talking about this recently. Part of this is eroded away so you can see the different chambers there and how they interlock. Really lovely. And Friesen Cathedral says, how long was their lifespan on average? I don't know if we have a great sense of that for ammonites. I know most modern cephalopods are pretty short-lived. So like octopus famously, even the largest octopus they only live for a few years. With ammonites like this, I think a lot of them had much longer lifespans, but I don't know how good a handle we have on that. At least a few years. Some of these guys got really, really big. The largest ammonites are like 2 meters across. It's like 6 feet or longer, wider. Huge. But many of them are much smaller. Super cool. And Starling Fan says, if related to squid and octopus, presumably they lost shells, but why? I don't know if they ever had them to start with. You've got different kinds of cephalopod that have different approaches to shells. Some of them don't have shells, like today's squid and octopus. Octopus especially rely on flexibility and being able to squish their bodies, contort themselves into different shapes in order to be able to fit into nooks and crannies to hide and stuff like that. Yeah, but then there are some cephalopods like cuttlefish that have an internal shell. They've got the cuttle bone in there. It kind of gives shape to their mantle and keeps them from compressing. Different cephalopods do really interesting things with different, shell morphologies. And that's one thing that we learned from ammonites is that, like, you could do crazy things with a shell and be really successful with that. So, yeah. Sea Film says, what dinosaur had the longest life expectancy? We don't know. Maybe some of the big sauropods, the biggest of the dinosaurs, big long-necked, long-tailed plant eaters. But we don't have a great handle on how old certain dinosaurs could get yet, just because we've not done enough histo on these groups to really have a broad understanding of, like, what is the average lifespan for a dinosaur. We don't know. But that being said, most dinosaurs lived fast and died young. Most of the dinosaur specimens that we have are not skeletally mature. So, like, they died before reaching their full skeletal size and maturity and everything else. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of dinosaurs here, check this out. This is from Alberta in Canada, but this is a cast of a hadrosaur tail. You see the vertebrae going up like that, those neural spines. You see the ossified tendons running across, like we were discussing yesterday. And you see that pebbly skin texture. Preserved skin impressions from a dinosaur about 75 million years old. Really cool. For whatever reason, duck-billed dinosaurs seem to have preserved skin more often than you would expect. You get impressions of their skin. Maybe they just had really, really tough, pebbly skin that survived decomposition long enough, often enough to get preserved as fossils fairly frequently. But yeah. Anyway. This isn't skin, it's an impression of skin. Thank you, Claire. Yes. And you see that reflected. See that kind of pebbly texture right there? Take a look at that. And then look at this fleshed out model. Big duck-billed dinosaur. Yeah, Lamiosaurus over here. Yeah. You see, it's almost like a giant basketball. Kind of that pebbly texture. That's based on actual fossil evidence. Yeah. And it is a beautiful sculpt, Dyson dinosaur. I'm so glad you're here to see it with me. Yeah. Lovely. So on the one side it's all fleshed out like this. And we'll go around to the other side and take a look at the skeleton too. There we go. There we are.
Ontogeny.
Just beautiful. Take a look at that. Lovely. So this is, of course, Lamiosaurus, like we saw over here in the mural. Duck-billed dinosaur. Kind of your flagship Lambeosaur. Named the one that gave its name to the whole group, Lambeosaurinae. That hatchet-shaped crest up there, filled with air passageways. It was hollow inside, hooked up to the animal's respiratory system. They could probably vocalize using that. And you've got those forelimbs there that are fairly robust, but not nearly as robust as the hind limbs. That's why we think these guys were what we call facultatively bipedal. So they could... they were probably walking around on all fours most of the time, but if they needed to get up and run, they could just tilt back on those hind legs and go. They're pretty versatile animals in terms of locomotion. Pretty neat. Let's BBC film says, are they related to platypus? Not at all. So platypus are mammals. So this creature is much more closely related to birds because it's a dinosaur. Platypus are a kind of mammal, so platypus are much more closely related to us. This dinosaur here is an ornithischian dinosaur. So one of the beaky plant eaters. And today its closest relatives would be birds. And we've got lovely eggs here too. They look a lot like the Hypacrosaurus eggs that we find in places like Montana. Yeah, really lovely. I love the paint scheme on this too. The color scheme is thoughtfully done. You've got some kind of gentle counter shading going on. You know, from light below to darker on top. It's very naturalistic. But from what we know about counter shading, from that paper with Sinosauropteryx, a stark transition low down on the body connotes an animal living in a forested environment. I wonder if the artists knew that when they were coming up with this color scheme, or if they just kind of did something that they thought looked like it made sense. Very cool. Oh, it's wonderful. Really, really nice. Yeah, this is a question that you hear asked all the time about museum displays. When you're creating a museum display like this based on fossils, what's more effective for kind of teaching an audience? Do you just show the fossil skeleton and have visitors kind of fill in the blanks with their mind? Or do you do a fleshed out model to show some idea of what the animal looked like while it was alive? You know, and since our perceptions of these animals change so rapidly with new information, with new papers being published, a fleshed out model can go out of date pretty quickly. But sometimes just the static skeleton can seem a little sparse. And I like that here they didn't do an either or. They're like, let's split the difference. Let's give visitors both. I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. And I think it works well. They've done an excellent job with this. Anyway. I'm going to get some water over here because I'm pretty thirsty, and there's a drinking fountain. And then we'll take a look at this bad boy, the Tyrannosaur over here. Oh, and I like this. Where are the dinosaurs? Dinosaurs roamed our region, but we found few fossils. Perhaps they were never preserved or were destroyed by erosion. Some may remain deeply buried, or others still await discovery. Instead, Cretaceous seafloor sediments yield pearly ammonites and sometimes unexpected dinosaurs. Most of the dinosaurs that we have that have been found in California do come from ocean bottom sediments, like we were talking about. I like that they talk about there in that text. Give me a second, let me get some water. And come on. Not enough water pressure here for me to really drink. I'll give it a try. I want to take a look at our pterosaur up here. Oh, that's loud. Give me a second, let me fix my necklace here.
Once again, this is the first city call for the 2:30 show of Coastal Oasis.
There we go. There we are. All right, hang on a sec. That's better. Let's see. There we are. Okay. Thanks for your patience. Yeah, let's take a look at this pterosaur up here. And who is that in its mouth? One of my favorite extant fishes that also existed during the Mesozoic. It's a gar, yes indeed. In fact, it almost looks like a model of a modern gar. In the jaws of this big pterosaur. Looks like Pteranodon here. I think we do have a few pterosaur fossils from here in California, but they're pretty rare. And again, I want to emphasize that is not a dinosaur. So pterosaurs are a group of flying reptiles that lived alongside the dinosaurs, but they're not dinosaurs themselves. They're close relatives of dinosaurs, but they're just outside of the dinosaur branch on the reptile family tree. Does that make sense? Think of them as like close cousins to the dinosaurs. Like we were talking about yesterday with that big wing membrane stretching between the end of the fourth finger and the hind legs. Yeah, very cool. Anyway, and I want to take a look at this lovely painting by William Stout over here too. Look at that. Really nice. I love just, there's a whole menagerie of different critters here. We've got a chimera, aka like ratfish. We've got a nautiloid. We've got some sort of giant fanged ray fin fish right there. We've got reef fish and all kinds of ammonites. Big old mosasaur. We've got sharks. We've got a goblin shark over there too. And then all surrounding this reef built up over our Aletta pelta. You see the limbs right there? It's so cool. This is a painting of a particular dinosaur and the taphonomic processes around it. You know, forming the basis of this ancient reef right there. That is so cool. And I love that it's a little bit subtle too. You've really got to examine it, interrogate it a little bit before you start to understand what's going on and realize its significance. This painting right here is of this particular fossil. That is really exquisite. What a lovely piece of paleo art. That is pretty special. We have the art, and we have the subject of the art. Pretty awesome. Top notch. You gotta love it. How cool is that? Very, very cool. Wow. Let's go over here and take a look at this big theropod dinosaur. I want to say this one is going to be based on the Albertosaur type Tyrannosaur material found. I don't remember if it was in Alta or Baja California. Yeah. Albertosaurus right here. And again, really lovely. There's even scars on the animal's exterior. Look at that. That is some real attention to detail. It's extraordinary. Magnificent. Freezing Cathedral says looks like a kangaroo. Oh, it's much faster than a kangaroo. Look at those long leggy legs. This animal would make short work of a kangaroo. So this is Albertosaurus, which is a close relative of Tyrannosaurus. Everybody's familiar with T-Rex. This is a slightly smaller, leaner cousin of T-Rex, member of the same family, Tyrannosauridae.
This is the final scene off for
Super cool. Oh, and well. It's signed by the artist, Mark Rickhoff. Mark Rickhoff. Research Casting International. The Canadians strike again. RCI has come up many times on our channel before, with all of their work that they've done in casting and mounting fossil specimens. Very cool. Pretty awesome. Yeah. I wonder if this is, it looks like same artist's work, yeah. Mark Rickhoff, Research Casting International, 2006. There you go. Really neat. Really neat. Gary and Kelly says, are reptiles fish? Essentially all vertebrate animals are, when you think about it. They all evolved from a fishy ancestor, so yes, strictly speaking. Phylogenetically speaking, yes. Anyhow. That was super cool. We've been going for 2.5 hours now at this point. I think let's go downstairs and see that Allosaurus and sign off. I've got some stuff I got to take care of before I go back to TwitchCon and pick up my badge. And I heard Ios just got into town too, so I'm going to go see her. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Let's go down, see that Allosaurus, and sign off. But don't go away just yet. We're going to raid into somebody else doing some cool science stuff here on Twitch. And, yeah, I'm going to get on with my day. But this has been super cool. And it's been a thrill to be able to share it with you. I hope you've enjoyed as much as I've enjoyed being here. And PyroKitty's Tavern, thank you for the raid. Welcome. We're actually just about to wrap up here. But let's go see our Allosaurus. Very cool. Now, if this critter looks familiar to anybody, I saw the same one. Look at those fused pubes over there. Look at the robust forelimbs. This is... Alright, should be coming back. Yeah. Alright, you're back? Good. Okay. Let's see who else is live on Twitch right now, and we'll go ahead and wrap this up. Let's see. Okay. Channel. Okay, can you see me right now? I don't know if you can. Oh, you can. Good. Okay. We're going to go right into GeoGym. Raid Geo Jim 2006, who's messing around with some minerals right now. So we'll see what he's up to. Do some geology here. Everybody, thank you so much for exploring this wonderful museum with me. If you ever get a chance to visit San Diego, make sure you come here. The San Diego Natural History Museum. It is well worth your time and your patronage. So I hope you've enjoyed as much as I have. I'm going to go get ready for some TwitchCon stuff. So we'll be seeing everybody soon, I hope. We might even do a stream from TwitchCon at some point over the next few days. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But in the meantime, everybody, you take care of yourselves, and let's go right into Geo Jim and talk to a real-life geologist live on stream. I'll see you there. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.